Tonight, a plan to get Canadians out of China.
But what will happen once they get home?
We have all the measures in place to protect Canadians.
As the death toll rises, new concern about how the virus jumps from person to person.
The push for Netflix to be a bit more Canadian. And can you expect to pay a streaming tax?
A plane full of potential.
She was such an enormous force.
The talent Canada lost when Flight 752 was shot down.
And the high-tech shoes so fast, they could be banned. This is The National.
As China struggles to contain the dangerous coronavirus, other countries are struggling to get their people out.
At least 126 Canadians are asking the government for help. Now, Ottawa says those inside the infected zone will be brought home, but there is a lot still to be worked out. Frustrated Canadians may point to how the U.S. and Japan have already repatriated some of their citizens, but Ottawa says this is complicated. And even when those Canadians do finally step onto home soil, their difficulties will not be over. David Cochrane explains.
We have secured a plane to repatriate Canadians.
Getting the plane was the easy part. Getting it into China and getting people home will be harder.
We need to work with the Chinese authorities with respect to the authorizations you need to bring the plane, obviously, in China, but also work on the logistics.
Those logistics are challenging. Most Canadians are under quarantine in Wuhan, but others are spread across Hubei province, where travel is forbidden or heavily restricted, with highways and airports closed.
Honestly, it's about time. They're definitely behind the other countries, so they've got some catching up to do. I'm glad that they've finally made that decision.
Lauren Williams is 35 weeks pregnant and stranded in Wuhan with her husband Tom and 2-year-old son James. Tom is a British citizen. They've been asking both countries for help.
At this stage, it's whichever one takes off first and will take us, we'll go on.
There are endless complications, compounded by the fact that Canada has no diplomatic staff in the affected region. So this has to be managed from Beijing, Shanghai, and Ottawa, and that's just the beginning.
The details of that is being worked out. However, the Chinese authority will not let anyone who might be infected on the plane.
We're working very closely with our U.S. counterparts, who obviously have some experience in this and have set up some best practices.
One of those practices is a voluntary quarantine at a military base, something Canada hasn't ruled out.
So what we're looking at is a scenario where we have all the measures in place to protect Canadians from exposure to the virus. And having said that, that's about as far as I can go.
At least for now. It's the early stages of a complex plan with stranded Canadians desperate for help. David Cochrane, CBC News, Ottawa.
So it's not just Canada struggling with this. Even countries near China are having some logistical problems getting their people out. South Korea had flights all lined up only to have them delayed. And the UK and Australia are dealing with their own challenges. Kim Brunhuber looks at that.
They were surely grateful to be back. 200 or so Americans from Wuhan arriving at a California military Air Force base. But the welcome by people in full hazmat gear was cautious. U.S. officials are trying to calm the public, insisting the passengers were screened before, during, and after the flight.
During the course of these screening processes, we check for symptoms that would be concerning of the novel coronavirus, including fever, cough, and other respiratory symptoms.
The passengers will be voluntarily quarantined and monitored at the base for 72 hours.
Where are we?
Priscilla Dickey and her 8-year-old daughter were hoping to be on that plane. Hermione's passport was with her dad in another city.
I didn't have my passport, so I couldn't get on the plane.
Help from the consulate? Impossible.
The consulate is gone. The consulate was on the plane.
Japan, too, was able to get a plane out of Wuhan. The Australian government is planning a controversial rescue. A plane would take its citizens to Christmas Island, 2,600 kilometers from the mainland, where they'd be quarantined at a detention facility for up to 2 weeks. Some say they'd rather stay, but the government warns it may be a one-time deal.
And I also want to stress very clearly that we may not be in a position, if we're able to do this on one occasion, to do it on another occasion.
Some of the hundreds of British citizens in Wuhan feel their government isn't doing enough to extract them.
I think it's been an absolute shambles, to be honest with you. I don't think the government have really known what they've been doing.
That frustration is shared by other expats waiting to get out.
People are scared here, scared people get angry, scared people, want answers.
Kim Brunhuber, CBC News, Los Angeles.
Now let's turn to the latest on the coronavirus situation as it continues its slow but steady expansion from Wuhan, the epicenter of the outbreak. At least 170 people have now died, all of them in China, where the total number of infections has shot up to nearly 8,000. 18 countries outside China have reported cases, including Canada, with 3 so far. Some countries, like France and Finland, have recorded new infections. And while the WHO reminded the public today that compared to SARS, the death rate is quite low, at just 2%, they are not letting their guard down.
The continued increase in cases and the evidence of human-to-human transmission outside China are, of course, both deeply concerning.
Of particular concern are cases in Vietnam, Japan, and Germany, all countries where people who had not traveled to China have become infected. Okay, I want to turn now to Dr. Alison McGeer, who is an infectious disease specialist, also someone who's on the front line of the SARS epidemic back in 2003. On the fact that this virus is spreading now within other countries besides China, how concerning is that for you?
Not at all. If the Chinese can control it, we can control it. It's a lot easier to control small numbers of cases. Each one of those cases we learn from, and we know the problem with banning travel and restricting travel has really bad consequences. Better we should be dealing with an occasional case out of the country.
Human-to-human transmission. There have been conflicting reports about whether someone who doesn't even feel sick at all could still be contagious. What's the truth on that?
We just don't know yet. There's increasing evidence that it may happen occasionally, but again, it's not even so much whether it happens as how often that happens that's important, and we're just going to have to wait for the data to come.
Last question I've got to ask you about masks. If I told you I was going to go out and buy one to protect myself, what would you tell me?
So in Toronto tonight, dead waste of your money. There's no novel coronavirus in Toronto. You can't get exposed to it. You're not protecting yourself from anything. And I assume you got your flu shots, so you don't have to worry about flu. Whether in an outbreak situation, in Hubei province in China, masks might make a small difference when there's a lot more transmission in the community. Really difficult evidence to interpret. Some people believe that there is some benefit to masks, not huge, but some. Some people think there's no benefit. So unfortunately, the mask question is just not going to go away. We don't know.
Even in Wuhan, it's not a slam dunk.
Even in Wuhan, it's not a slam dunk.
Dr. McGeer, thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Air Canada, it seems, has moved today to suspend all flights to Beijing and Shanghai after government warnings to avoid travel to mainland China. And it's not just travel, it's trade, it's consumer goods. So as Peter Armstrong tells us, other companies are starting to feel the pinch of this outbreak too.
You need not look far to see the economic consequences of this virus. Airline after airline suspending flights to China. This afternoon, one of Air Canada's last direct flights from Beijing landed in Vancouver.
Lucky me, I can come home on time.
I work in Beijing at a school, and we were shut down indefinitely until things kind of clear up there. So I kind of 4 o'clock booked the next ticket out.
In China, entire swaths of the country have been shut down. Starbucks has closed more than half its outlets. Toyota announced it will close its plants, and Google says it will temporarily close all of its Chinese offices.
What we really have tried to do is look at what would a SARS-like pandemic today mean for Canada.
The fallout from SARS is a decent economic model. Remember, though, back in 2003, China was basically the world's factory. Today, China's much more intertwined in the buying and selling of the global economy.
The fact that the Chinese authorities have clamped down and they've put many cities in lockdown already, that means those consumers aren't out there purchasing, and that will really dampen Chinese growth.
And that dampening will be felt in places you may not expect. Cameron Seafood sells about half its lobsters to China. And Chinese New Year is one of the busiest times of year. They were set to ship about 20,000 pounds this week.
Those orders all canceled. So actually the sales to China completely disappeared from Monday.
There are other markets for those lobsters, but there's no way to make up the loss of the Chinese market. And no way of knowing how or when the world's second biggest economy will reopen for business. Peter Armstrong, CBC News, Toronto.
While precautions in the face of the coronavirus are understandable, there is worry that caution might turn into fear and fear might seek a target.
I think our risk of catching this coronavirus is the same as everybody else.
Some Canadians of Chinese heritage say they are bracing for an unpleasant impact. It happened before during the SARS outbreak. We will look at what's happening today, that is, later in the program.
The U.S. Senate used the question and answer portion of the impeachment trial to continue sparring today over the possible testimony of former National Security Advisor John Bolton. And as Paul Hunter shows us, there was an odd scene outside the Capitol building when another key figure in all of this was denied entry.
Excuse us. What's the most important thing you want to say to senators?
And so it was, yet another "you've got to be kidding" moment in the Senate trial of Donald Trump, this time inside Washington's train station, outside on a nearby sidewalk, in the halls and stairwells of Capitol Hill, a selfie inside a Senate office.
Mr. Parks, what do you think about being here now?
Swarmed throughout by reporters, Ukrainian-born businessman Lev Parnas, today hoping to watch some of the trial in person. Parnas is an associate of Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani and says he's got plenty to dish on Trump if called as a witness.
I want to testify under oath, so this way the truth, because I'd love to do it under oath, and I welcome all of them. I welcome Rudy to come and testify under oath. I welcome the president to come testify under oath.
But this is about as far as Parnas got. Facing campaign finance charges, he's wearing an ankle bracelet and electronics are not allowed inside.
The senator is recognized.
I send a question to the desk.
Meanwhile, it was a day of questions in the Senate trial, many lawmakers focusing on someone else willing to testify, former National Security Advisor John Bolton, whose new, still unpublished memoir is said to be damning for the president. Democrats want him to talk, Republicans don't. A vote on it is expected within days. One of the questions today, can the verdict be fair without him?
The short answer to that question is no. There's no way to have a fair trial without witnesses.
But if he is called, said a lawyer for Trump,
then the president would have to have his opportunity to call his witnesses. And there'd be depositions, and this would drag on for months.
The White House also pushed back today, saying it'd try to block Bolton from testifying anyway, deeming parts of his book top secret. Tweeted Trump, the book is untrue and nasty. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
While that drama unfolds inside the Senate chamber, the president countered with a signing ceremony outside the White House.
Today, we're finally ending the NAFTA nightmare and signing into law the brand new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement. Very special. Very, very special.
Donald Trump signed the new North American Free Trade Agreement in front of 400 guests, notably not including the Democrats who helped ensure its passage through Congress. The deal includes changes to auto manufacturing rules and opens Canadian dairy markets. Canada still needs to ratify the agreement.
The Conservative leadership race is expanding in this country, but some Tories feel they still don't have the right kind of candidates. Catherine Cullen went to find out what they're looking for.
These are exciting times. These are not the times for the weak and the timid.
Rick Peterson is fired up about his Conservative leadership run, but the guy who finished 12th last time has some underwhelmed.
He couldn't even win a seat in Edmonton. Those are the type of people that we don't need in our party right now for leadership.
In fact, this whole leadership race has some Conservatives feeling there's something missing.
Good morning, everyone.
Right now, he's the perceived leadership frontrunner, and he is trying to bring him down.
I'm in politics to fight for you.
But some Conservatives want more choice.
Showtime, as they say.
This MP says after looking at the current field, he might just make a run himself.
I think it's clear that Peter MacKay has sewn up the red Tory bloc,
And there is a huge element, the blue Conservatives on the right, which are looking for a candidate.
Over the weekend, I think, I heard there was just a ton of activity with.
Some Conservatives are still holding out hope that a new big name will jump in.
People are calling John Baird and saying, maybe you should think about getting back in.
That's despite the former cabinet minister telling friends he won't run. And while Ronna Ambrose has said publicly she's not running.
But right now, I'm focused on making a difference through the private sector.
Jason Leader says she's also being pressured to change her mind. But why the push for new candidates?
We want somebody that's stress tested, that's run through the gauntlet, and that can prove not only can you win this, if you can't win this kind of competition, you're certainly not going to beat Justin Trudeau.
Others say they want to be sure there's a real debate about key issues.
That's what our party needs to offer the Canadian public, is a spicy, bold vision that people clearly resonate with and that reflects modern Canada.
And time is running out. Officially, there's about a month left to enter the race, but even if a new face were to jump in today, other candidates have been out building support for weeks, even months. Catherine Cullen, CBC News, Ottawa.
There is a new push tonight to force streaming giants like Netflix and Spotify to be a bit more Canadian. It's the result of a long-awaited review of the Canadian Broadcasting Act, looking at everything from the taxes you pay to the ads you see. Here's Eli Glasner with the big takeaways.
Opening night of the Canadian Primetime Conference in Ottawa is all about networking and sharing ideas. But tonight, the film and industry pros were buzzing about something else.
I think it's both pragmatic and visionary.
A report with recommendations designed to bring Canadian broadcasting rules into the digital age, including requiring streaming services such as Netflix to invest in and prominently feature Canadian content.
I am pretty sure they'll resist, but I think it's a great idea.
The current Broadcasting Act was written before the age of dial-up, and the report's authors say we need to make sure homegrown content isn't drowned out in the age of streaming.
As Canadians, we also expect that there will always be a place for Canadian voices.
About time, says the head of the Directors Guild.
The streamers are investing billions of dollars into the creation of content. They already make a lot of it here. And so saying that some of that content will be Canadian, will be made by Canadians, is right in the sweet spot of their business.
The report's authors want streamers to adjust their algorithms to ensure Canadian content is easy to find. And they also want streamers to collect HST across the country. While Netflix has argued such practices hurt consumer choices, in response to the report they said, "We look forward to working with the government as it proceeds to modernize Canada's broadcasting and telecommunications laws." There were other recommendations. The report suggested the CBC drop all advertising within 5 years. The CBC responded with, asking for an additional $300 million in public funding just to remove advertising from our platforms is not our priority. The Liberal government has promised action on the recommendations soon.
I'd say let's talk about this at the end of this year, and we'll see how much we will have been able to achieve.
Delivering change to an act that many industry watchers say is overdue for an overhaul. Eli Glasner, CBC News, Ottawa.
Nike's controversial new running shoe is used by the fastest in the world, at least for now. Up next on The National, what makes a shoe so effective the running world could ban it?
I can't think of anything else in my lifetime that's had a bigger impact on performances in running.
Is this it? It is!
Plus, Canadian Christine Sinclair scores to make soccer history.
And the dramatic rescues in a high-rise fire from the rooftop and the ledge. We're back in 2 minutes. Welcome back. There is an international debate raging over a pair of running shoes, the Nike Vaporflies. Marathon runners who wear them have been smashing records. But with the Summer Olympics less than 6 months away, Jamie Strachan has the story of the suspicion that maybe the shoes offer an unfair advantage.
The Nike Vaporflies are on a whole different level.
Canadian marathoner Reid Coolsat has competed in 2 Olympics. He knew that if he wanted to compete in Tokyo this summer, he had to switch to the Nike Vaporfly.
The Vaporflies were the answer because, they're often worth, 2 minutes in a marathon, and if I can get 2 minutes, then I can be competitive.
Is it the shoes? No. The industry is known for its hype and hyperbole, making promises about shoes that will change your life. But these are different.
I can't think of anything else in my lifetime that's had a bigger impact on performances in running. Over the last 2 years, basically every road running record that I can think of has been broken.
The numbers don't lie. The fastest men's and women's marathon finishes ever were run in the Vaporflies. In fact, in the last 6 major world marathons, nearly all of the podium finishers wore the shoes.
So what makes this shoe different is that
the sole of the Vaporfly is a curved carbon plate surrounded by thick ultralight foam. The plate keeps your foot from bending and losing energy.
And you've got this massive layer of foam that is compressing and giving you energy back with every step.
Other companies have been unable to keep pace, and now World Athletics, which governs international running, may limit or ban the shoe, a piece of equipment some are calling a form of technological doping.
And I'm really struggling with just what is the logical step here?
This Triathlon magazine editor says innovation is important, but wonders if these shoes go too far.
People have always talked about the purity of running. Anyone can get into it. All you need is a pair of shoes. Now we're starting to say maybe that's not possible.
For Reid Coolsat, with an Olympic berth on the line, it's an easy choice.
I hope the Vaporfly gives me that edge.
The sport's governing body will decide within days if that edge is a fair one. Jamie Strachan, CBC News, Toronto.
And we're watching several other stories tonight, including a record-breaking performance from one of Canada's top athletes.
Here's Leon. Sinclair's in the middle of the field. Christine Sinclair! She just broke the record! 185 career goals, Christine Sinclair! She's humble. She's a leader. She's a legend.
Yeah, that basically tells the story. The Canadian superstar making soccer history today, becoming the top international scorer of all time with her 185th goal. The 36-year-old from Burnaby, BC, broke the record held by American Abby Wambach with a 2-goal performance in an Olympic qualifier. Ottawa is now the first Canadian city to declare a housing and homelessness emergency.
We need to go to the feds and the province and tell them, we've got an emergency. We need you to act now.
The decision comes as Ottawa's waitlist for affordable housing ballooned to 12,000 people, a nearly 15% increase since 2017. Hundreds gathered outside City Hall in support of the motion. Council hopes the declaration will catch the eye of the federal government as it prepares its spring budget. And memorial ceremonies took place across Quebec today as survivors and families of victims marked the 3-year anniversary of the Quebec City mosque shooting. Events were held across the province to commemorate the horrifying event that shocked the country and left 6 people dead in 2017. A moment of silence was also held in the House of Commons, where MPs wore green squares on their lapels in memory of the victims.
There is another ugly side to the coronavirus outbreak.
I saw a lot of racist comments on Twitter.
Up next, Canadians of Chinese heritage fear the repeat of the racism they experienced during SARS.
And later, 3 stories of the potential lost on Flight 752, the groundbreaking work left behind, and the promises to carry on.
How do we make sure that people in the future know what this pristine example of a human being is?
Back to the coronavirus story now, in a worry that's not medical, but social. For some Canadians of Chinese heritage, there is concern that misinformation will mutate into ostracism or outright racism. It happened during the SARS outbreak, and as Ellen Morrow found out, there are already hints of it again.
Terry Chu's daughter may be too young to understand discrimination, but Chu's scared she may soon feel it. Chu did herself during the SARS outbreak.
People were doing things like avoiding Chinese people on the subway. There was a lot of fear, and so we're hoping not to see too much of a repeat of that.
Concern over a repeat so strong it prompted these comments today from Toronto's mayor.
We can't let fear or ignorance triumph over our values.
During SARS, Chinese businesses took a hit, fear of that virus keeping people away. Back then, the Prime Minister made a point of visiting the community.
We can have a lot of fun in a Chinese restaurant.
Encouraging others to do the same. Today, Shan Lee's already noticed a slowdown in the lunch rush.
Saw a lot of racist comments on Twitter. There's definitely impacts on like the Asian crowd.
Indeed, today's abuse looks different, amplified by social media. When a Toronto blog promoted a Chinese restaurant on Instagram, racist comments immediately followed. Other disturbing posts were left by supporters of a petition to schools in the York region north of Toronto. With around 10,000 signatures, it says parents should be informed whether any students have recently traveled to China, demanding they be quarantined. The York District School Board responded, writing, "We must come together as Canadians and avoid any hint of xenophobia." A message Terry Chu and other moms like Ming Tam hope people take to heart.
I guess it's really hurtful because a lot of Chinese families have been here for a long time, for generations, right? And truthfully, I think our risk of catching this coronavirus is the same as everybody else.
And officials say that risk is low. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Toronto.
When we come back, the staggering loss of talent when Flight 752 was shot down.
I think we lost a lot as a nation. I can't imagine the collective impact.
3 stories of Canadian researchers on board and the incredible work they left behind. Next. Welcome back. 3 weeks after the downing of Flight 752 in Iran, Ottawa says the remains of 12 passengers have been repatriated. Those of one more expected. For families, the pain is incalculable. A sliver of which has also stabbed Canada's academic community. Dozens of students, teachers, and researchers, so much potential now gone. Ioana Remiliotis shows us 3 of them.
I moved to Canada on December 2009 and then became an international PhD student at the University of Manitoba.
It's eerie. At a vigil for her, Farouk Kadem seems to be speaking from the grave. The vibrant young scientist at her Canadian citizenship ceremony seems so alive, so proud of her accomplishments.
My PhD research contributed to identifying a novel drug and vaccine.
It's another layer to the tragedy, in the void of what was, what could have been too.
Farouk was passionate, bold, always going full steam ahead.
Farouk was one of the 57 Canadians killed in that plane crash. A PhD graduate from the University of Manitoba, the 36-year-old had pioneered life-saving research.
Farouk was able to show that these cells do get infected with the parasite.
For her advisor and friend, Jude Uzona, it's all still so unimaginable. They texted the day of the crash.
She told me, I'm heading to the airport, I'm coming back. And then the next thing you heard is that she's dead. How do you comprehend that? It's really sad.
Jude met Farouk at a conference in Tehran 10 years ago. She was a facilitator, and he says he was so impressed by her energy and her intelligence, he offered her the chance to study in Winnipeg.
And I told her, I said, Farouk, if you ever wanted to do a PhD in Canada, contact me. And she took me up on the offer. I never thought she was going to do that because her background was in plant biotechnology.
That is where my research comes in. I've discovered the hiding spot of the parasite.
From plant biology to immunology, it was a leap, but she excelled. Her thesis focused on a deadly tropical disease rampant in nearly 100 countries. The culprit is a parasite that cripples the immune system. Farouk discovered how the parasite turned on a particular cell in the liver to evade detection.
Nobody has ever shown that before.
How significant is that?
That's huge.
Would it have saved lives?
It would save lives because when you target that pathway to treat, and when you treat people, you cure them, and that will save lives.
Farouk's work had the potential to save millions of lives, and why she was one of only 6 Canadians selected to meet with Nobel laureates. Academia had become her family. Her parents in Iran sent a message of gratitude to the community that had embraced her.
I would like to extend my sincere thanks to the University of Manitoba,
the place where she built an incredible legacy, where her work will carry on.
The beauty of science is that she has laid the foundation for another person to move forward. But when the person moves forward, she's always going to get a credit. So
she lives on in that way.
She lives on that way.
The photo is haunting because the young man in it is gone. Mohammed Asadi Lari died in that plane crash. He was only 23 and already exceptional.
It's like there's a lot of motivation to set up some sort of scholarship.
At the University of Toronto, the shock is fading, the grief just settling in. Friends like Gil Kazerman want to honor him.
All we could think about is how do we make sure that people in the future know what this pristine example of a human being is.
Mohammed was a medical student at the University of Toronto and was also pursuing a PhD.
He said, oh, ophthalmology is really interesting. Wait, ENT surgery is really interesting. Wait, like AI is really interesting. And I always joked with him that he's going to end up not doing a PhD at all because it took him like 7 years to just decide what he actually wanted to do.
At that point in time, I had this very deep passion for science.
At a TEDx talk last year, he said science in any form was his passion.
And there will be issues that you're passionate about, and you need to take action on those issues.
He took action by creating a STEM fellowship when he was just an undergrad. The program now runs in schools across the country. And he kept advocating for more support for science research, lobbying politicians every chance he got, including Canada's Deputy Prime Minister.
I'd like to talk about Mohammed.
Chrystia Freeland spoke about Mohammed at a university vigil for victims of the crash.
He cornered me and he said, "Minister, the government has to do more about this and I need to meet with you and talk to you about it."
Mohammed was part of a small cohort of brilliant minds, the generation on the edge of new discoveries.
He was going to try to be a change-maker, influencer.
Dr. Nicola Jones runs the university's MD PhD program.
And we only take 8 a year. And within that group, Mohammed was actually exceptional. Like, he really stood out.
The hope is his light doesn't fade away.
You know, if you can take any sort of positive thing from such a tragedy, is just who Mohammed was and what he stood for. I think everybody who knows him feels that because of this, they're going to try harder. They're going to do a little bit more. They're going to try to emulate his ethos and really try to be change makers more, try to empower people, and just be a really kind, caring individual. That was Mohammed.
Her desk is intact. Her shawl is still there. In a fiery instant, Zara Nagibi became a ghost. Both she and her husband died in the plane crash.
That's a place I try not to go. It's absolutely horrible. I'm trying not to internalize it so I can keep myself together here, because it's an absolutely devastating thing.
Zara was a PhD student at the University of Windsor, a rising scientist, a rising star.
It's horrible.
Her supervisor, Roop Caravo, is struggling to contain the loss.
There's the emotional part that you try to deal with. And then, in a sort of on a cold clinical way, there's the practical side. She was such an enormous force.
Zara's work focused on solar energy to keep greenhouses running. She had just completed the delicate, painstaking task of creating a model of a microclimate.
Zara's model could tell you minute to minute what the energy consumption would be in a greenhouse at any time. She could also show what was going to happen in the future, which enables you to do things like design a better or more innovative energy supply system.
That need for alternative energy supplies is huge in a province where the number of greenhouses is exploding. Zara's work was so relevant, it led to 2 university projects. The official launch was just days after she died.
Her name was still on the papers?
Yes, it was still on the agenda. Yeah, I didn't have the heart to take it off.
Why?
Yeah. Because it's still her work. And, you know, it was important that people understood she was missing. There was someone there who had got us to that point, and they couldn't be with us physically, but her work was there and we would take it forward. These things are all connected.
But for her colleagues especially, there's an intangible loss, and it's so hard to measure.
You know, when you think of the tragedy of people losing their lives, but so much of it too is about the loss of potential, right?
Yeah.
What do you think was lost?
Yeah, well, the brain trust, the collective brain trust. I'm only intimately familiar with what Zara was able to offer, but I know that it was indicative of the rest of the talent that was on that plane. So I think we lost a lot as a nation. I can't imagine the collective impact, and we won't know because it's very difficult to quantify that going forward.
Zara's belongings will remain untouched for 40 days to respect the traditional mourning period in Iran. Then the university will send them to her family there, long before the grieving ends. Joanna Brumeliotis, CBC News, Windsor.
At least 19 Canadian universities lost teachers, students, or researchers. Their fields ranged from medicine to mathematics, engineering to computer science, and finance to accounting. 138 passengers on Flight 752 were heading to Canada. We've been compiling their stories as we learn them. You can read those on our website, cbcnews.ca/Flight 752.
Okay, time for a quick break. Next, we're going to take you to Washington, where impeachment news certainly depends on who you watch.
The
give voice to some conservative voices that other people don't.
An impeachment hoax that amounts to a coup.
The right-wing network that's caught Donald Trump's eye. And we're not talking about Fox News.
And a message from Kobe Bryant's wife, Vanessa Bryant, on finding comfort through the pain.
Trump world is like a cult, and a lot of these senators are in the cult, so I don't know if anything could change some of their minds, but hopefully the public will know what's going on.
A little more of Lev Parnas hoping to testify before the Trump impeachment trial. But as much as he's hoping to persuade the public, what they'll believe may certainly depend on where they get their news. Susan Ormiston now with just how polarizing the U.S. media has become.
Impeachment news all the time, and now, more than ever, what Americans believe is the truth
Senator Warren does not have an IP.
Is shaped by what media they watch and hear, echoing from under the Capitol's dome.
And he's trying to pull all the levers of power.
From the moment the impeachment articles were signed, Trump's team has had to blunt the charges using a powerful megaphone, conservative media.
They don't hate Trump, they hate you.
He's a proxy for you because you voted for him. They think you're a bunch of rubes because you didn't listen to the media.
Day one of the trial with 11 million Americans tuned in.
Let's look at what the president has done.
Fox News at times muted the debate to recite a list of the president's accomplishments.
He cut more burdensome regulation than any of his predecessors.
You know, the Trump defense is 100% coming from the right-wing media. It's almost indistinguishable at this point what is coming from Fox and what is originating with the White House. We are monitoring all of cable news.
Researchers at Media Matters, a liberal monitoring group, say their data shows a direct pipeline between Trump's legal team and conservative commentary.
And his core lawyers, Alan Dershowitz, Sekulow, Bondi, and Robert Ray, they specifically have been on Fox 365 times just last year.
Hi, Jake. Okay, we're ready here.
Alternatively, top Democrats like Chuck Schumer are frequently guests on CNN.
They're afraid to address the issues.
Giving way to a tense moment recently between a CNN reporter and a Republican senator.
Should the Senate consider new evidence as part of the impeachment trial?
Man, you're a liberal hack. I'm not talking to you.
Back in 1974, President Richard Nixon resigned rather than face an impeachment trial. A young Roger Ailes told Nixon what he needed was a conservative-leaning media. Years later, Ailes founded Fox News. Geraldo Rivera made a similar point about Trump with Fox host Sean Hannity.
You know, if it wasn't your show, Sean, they would destroy him absolutely. You're the difference between Donald J. Trump and Richard Nixon.
Fox is the biggest and best known.
Your leading source for the latest breaking national and international news.
But One American News, smaller, family-owned, is attracting the president's favor. Trump calling their reporting brilliant, a consistent and powerful voice.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Trump's tweets help the brand, says John Hines, Washington bureau chief.
We give voice to some conservative voices that other people don't, and that gives an impression that we are conservative.
Like this voice from an OAN host.
An impeachment hoax that amounts to a coup.
Promoting a documentary it produced with Rudy Giuliani in Ukraine.
Do you also talk to liberal people about liberal issues?
Not quite so much.
And why is that?
Part of our niche is to be a little bit contrarian.
Milliken says Trump praises One American News to keep Fox in line.
If Fox is not willing to play ball on something, One America will step in and do it.
While this trial grinds on, a new poll by Pew Research shows Republicans increasingly alienated from much of the traditional news sources.
Here it is, 9 p.m. in the D.C. swamp, 6 p.m. out on the West Coast, and the Schumer Shift Sham show is still going on.
Setting up an even more fractious election year, with impeachment just the prelude. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Washington.
Vanessa Bryant has posted a heartbreaking tribute to her late husband, Kobe, and daughter, Gianna, who both died in a helicopter crash on Sunday. On Instagram, she thanked the millions of people who have shown support to her family, adding, "There aren't enough words to describe our pain right now. I take comfort in knowing that Kobe and Gigi both knew they were so deeply loved. The cause of the crash is still under investigation." And now to some dramatic rescues from a high-rise fire in Los Angeles that officials say could have been deliberately set. Flames broke out on the 6th floor of this 25-story apartment building this morning and spread fast.
With it starting, us seeing the smoke, and me leaving the apartment was literally 5-6 minutes. I could have died. There was so much smoke. So I just left. So as I said, I got no shoes.
Some were able to escape through stairwells. Others had to be airlifted to safety. And take a look at this. A man rescued from a very thin ledge.
We got on our public address system and let them know to stay there. We sent someone up the aerial ladder to address that. No one jumped.
11 people were hurt, including a 3-month-old baby. LA Fire's arson unit is investigating. Well, that's an incredible scene. Those are European lawmakers bidding Britain farewell with a rendition of the traditional Scottish folk song, O Lang Syne. After an emotional debate in the EU Parliament, today's vote to officially approve the departure passed overwhelmingly. Britain will now formally leave the European Union on Friday at midnight Brussels time.
Okay, the moment is up next. Tonight, it's an incredible surprise for a cancer patient.
Hi, Daryl. It's James Taylor here in Western Massachusetts. Sandy told me
The story behind how a personal message from singer-songwriter James Taylor right after the... Well, take a look at that face. Daryl Johnson just got quite the surprise. A personal video from one of his favorite musicians, the James Taylor. Now, you see, Daryl has been a big fan for nearly all of his life, but he's currently living with terminal brain cancer. And when his hospice nurse found out that they shared a love of James Taylor's music, she took matters into her own hands and reached out directly to the musician on Twitter. What happened next is our moment.
It took a few minutes for him to grasp that screen with that face.
Hi, Daryl. It's James Taylor here in Western Massachusetts.
I also love that artist, so I would speak to Daryl about him.
Sandy told me
And I just realized that that's something that he would really enjoy.
Sandy told me about your situation and that you were listening to my music and enjoying it.
He was tapping his heart, which tells us that he really loved it. We've all really grown fond of Daryl. He's a lovely, lovely human. And his joy was our joy.
Thanks for listening, Daryl.
And what you don't see there is the amount of work that went into getting that moment ready. I mean, apparently it took months to organize, that they had reached out to James Taylor's people through their website, tried to go through Twitter, eventually over email, and it finally came together.
And Daryl, so we obviously send you all of our best, but apparently Sandy only told your mother and brother just in case it didn't happen. She didn't want you to get your hopes up, but so glad it worked out. That is a national for January 29th. Good night.
Good night.